Alright, so the final thing we're going to talk about for this module is the functions of fat in baking. Why do we add fat in baking, and what does it do when it's in our product? The first thing it does is it tenderizes our product. So in our last chapter, you should have talked about the formation of gluten by flour, and gluten is a big network of proteins. Well, fat can prevent it from forming that big network, which would make it, if you overdevelop your gluten, it'll be too tough. But because fat is interfering with that formation, the gluten strands are shorter and you end up having a more crumbly, tender texture instead of a gummy texture. The next thing is something we've already talked about. It's the creaming ability. And you should remember, creaming ability is the ability to incorporate air pockets when whipped or beaten or creamed, and it results in all these little air bubbles in your finished product, like this picture over here, and that gives it a lighter texture and prevents it from being too dense. Next thing that fat might do in your recipe is lubrication. And actually, this is for bread doughs, and it can help your bread dough to be easier to handle. If you've ever kneaded bread dough, it can take a lot of effort to knead that dough until the gluten is developed enough. But adding just a little tiny bit of fat, not enough to make it to interfere with the formation of the gluten network, but a little bit of fat can help it to be a little easier to handle because it lubricates the gluten and makes it easier to stretch and knead. Another thing that fat does in a recipe is it moistens. So it prevents your water from evaporating, and this helps your product to be nice and moist instead of being too dry. So those are the main reasons that we put fats into a product, and you should remember all of those. Just a brief little description of them because those will be on your quiz. And I know this has been a lot of chemistry, it's been pretty dense, this whole module, so just make sure that you contact me or Dr. Lynch if you have any questions, and we'll make sure to clear things up for you.